Have you ever wondered if we're looking at crime all wrong? Today, we're digging into something called behavioral forensics. It's this incredible field that's trying to shift our entire focus away from just asking who did it and toward a much deeper question, why did they do it? And believe me, the answer could completely change how we think about justice.
So to really get a feel for how powerful this is, let's look at a real-life case. We have a 45-year-old woman, and she's been arrested for assaulting her husband. Her defense is pretty clear. It was self-defense. She says she's a victim of battered woman syndrome, and this was the breaking point after years and years of abuse.
You see, for years, she lived in this cycle of violence. Her husband would drink, and then he'd start ranting in this very specific, low, bass-heavy voice. And for her, that sound, well, it wasn't just a sound. It was a terrifying signal that physical abuse was about to happen, every single time.
And then came the day it all came to a head. During another one of his attacks, she actually fought back. While he was assaulting her, she managed to grab a knife, and she stabbed him. In her mind, it was a pure act of survival. She was just trying to stay alive.
So this is the massive question that lands in the lap of the justice system, right? Was this a calculated, premeditated murder? Or was this the absolute last resort for a woman who was pushed way beyond her breaking point? And as we're about to see, the answer has nothing to do with the facts themselves, but everything to do with how you interpret them.
Okay, so first, let's walk through the way things are usually done. This is the traditional psychological evaluation. The main goal here is to get inside the suspect's head, to figure out their personality, their character, who they are deep down.
To do this, forensic evaluators pull out the standard toolkit. They do clinical interviews, they go over her entire history, and they run a whole battery of personality tests. This includes a big one called the MMPI-2RF, which, if you're not familiar, is one of the most widely used personality tests in psychology.
And what came back from all this? Well, a list of labels. The official diagnosis included generalized anxiety disorder, cyclothymic disorder, and even personality disorders like avoidant and dependent. So the picture they painted was of a person who was fundamentally anxious, depressed, and pathologically dependent on other people.
Now get this, because this is the really crucial part. At one point during her evaluation in jail, she had a massive panic attack, and the traditional analysis saw this not as a reaction to something happening around her, but as a flaw in her. They called it a perceptual distortion and an overreaction, basically saying she was broken and couldn't tell what was a real threat and what wasn't.
Okay, but what if that whole approach is wrong? What if we've been asking the completely wrong question this entire time? This is where we see a huge shift in thinking, a move away from analyzing who a person is and towards understanding why they did what they did.
And this chart just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you have the traditional model. It's all about looking inside the person for things like character flaws and inner tendencies. But on the right, you have the behavioral model, and it's looking outside the person for things like environmental triggers and clear, observable cause and effect. Two totally different ways of seeing the world.
So let's do it. Let's put on this new behavioral lens and look at the exact same set of facts. You're going to see how a completely different story starts to emerge.
Right away, the approach is different. The behavioral analyst isn't trying to read her mind or figure out her personality. They are only focused on one thing: what can be directly seen and measured. They're not looking for disorders, they're looking for data.
And what did they see? A crystal clear, almost mechanical sequence of events. Step 1, 2 male guards with low-bass voices walk nearby. Step 2, her body instantly and involuntarily reacts. She starts quivering, she tenses up, her breathing goes haywire. Step 3, the guards walk away. And step 4, just like that, her physical reaction stops. Cold. This isn't a misperception. This is pure cause and effect, right there in front of them. And that leads to the crucial takeaway from this approach. Her body's panicked reaction wasn't a conscious choice. It wasn't a flaw in her character. It was an automatic conditioned reflex, hardwired into her nervous system by years of trauma, all set off by one very specific trigger.
And there's a scientific name for this. You've probably heard of it: responding conditioning. There's Pavlov's dogs, right? You take a neutral stimulus, like a bell, or in this tragic case, a low-bass voice, and you pair it over and over again with something powerful, like getting food or getting hurt.
After years of that pairing, her husband's voice was no longer a neutral sound. It became a conditioned trigger. It was like a switch that could instantly flip her body into a state of absolute terror, completely outside of her control. Her body was reacting long before her conscious mind even had a chance to catch up. So you might be thinking, okay, personality disorder, conditioned response, these are just words, right? What's the big deal? Well, in the world of justice, the difference between those two explanations is absolutely massive. It's a game changer.
Because here's what it does. It shifts the entire focus of forensic analysis away from subjective, often biased labels about someone's character and puts it squarely in the world of objective, observable science. It gives you a testable, cause and effect reason for why someone did what they did. We stop branding people as avoidant or defective, and we start understanding the real history of their interactions with the world around them.
And all of this leaves us with a final and pretty provocative thought. If we can use science to explain the why behind a person's actions, not as an excuse, but as a functional, cause and effect explanation, how might that completely change our ideas of guilt and responsibility? Could a real science of behavior actually lead us to a much fairer, more just world?